What's going on, guys, and welcome to another paranormal story. So, a lot of you seem to really like the last one, and I wanted to say a big thank you for the support on that. I really do appreciate it. I'll be reading out some of the comments from that video, hopefully at the end of this one, so you may want to stay tuned for that. But yeah, this story begins with a guy who likes to buy and sell things, and I think as long as he can make a profit on something, he will buy it and try to sell it. But yeah, this is apparently a true story. I saw this on a TV show recently. I'll link you to the wiki of the story in case you want to read about it. But yeah, as I said, this guy likes to buy and sell things. So he sort of goes to auctions and estate sales and lot sales and stuff like that. And he attends a lot sale one day. And for those of you who don't know what a lot sale is, it's kind of like an auction, but instead of bidding on individual items, you sort of bid on groups of items. It can just be called an auction in the same sense, but you know, you can't individually buy something in a bundle of items. If you see one item in a bundle of say 10 items that you want, to get that item you have to buy all of the items. So this guy sees a lot that he likes and it has a few items on it that he wants, so he bids on it and he wins. And he takes it, or I think it's outside somewhere. He goes outside to have a little look at his lot that he's just got. He's quite happy with himself, knowing that he's going to make a bit of money off what he's just bought. And a girl approaches him, a young girl, and says, "Oh, I see you've got the Dybbuk box." And he says, "Oh, what's that?" He's unsure of what she's talking about. And she explains that the stuff he's bought belonged to her grandmother. And the box was called the Dybbuk box, and she was used to say whenever anybody asked about this box that it was never to be opened, and it had sort of a small bronze padlock on this box, sort of a small wooden wine sort of box with a padlock on it, and it was never to be opened apparently. And so he didn't really think much about it. He just was like, oh, okay then, and he took all of his stuff back to the store that he owns, where he sells a lot of his things. And I think the store itself was relatively small, but he had a really big basement area, sort of a storage area, in which he kept a lot of his stock. So he took all the items he got down there and sort of forgot about the box at this point, and just, you know, took the things he wanted and you know, put those out for sale or whatever. And over time, he's sort of sorting through his stuff, and he comes across this box, and he doesn't know sort of what to do with it. And he remembers what the girl says, but he doesn't take like much heed, you know, he doesn't really care, and he just decides to open the box to see if there's anything valuable in there. So he cracks it open, and there's a few things in there that I think there was some weird stuff in there, like 2 locks of hair, like a lock of blonde and a lock of black hair, a rose, like a dried up rose, some form of candlestick, and some granite statue with the word shalom in is it Hebrew writing? I don't know if I'm saying the right thing there, you know. I know it's I think it's a Hebrew word. Anyway, but yeah, shalom engraved on it. I'm not sure what that means, but yeah, anyway. And he's sort of like, oh, well, none of this is valuable, and doesn't pay much attention to it, just puts it to the side and forgets about it. Now, shortly after this, he's about to go run out and run some errands. And he has sort of a shop assistant, a young girl who works for him, who's very much used to being alone in the store and you know, working in there on her own while he's away and stuff. And that's pretty much why he's got her, so she can keep running the store while he's doing whatever. And so she's alone in the store, and he leaves, and she decides she needs to go down to the basement after a little while to sort some stuff out. So she goes down there, starts cleaning up or whatever, and moving stuff around. And she's not, you know, doing anything she shouldn't be, really. She's not messing, you know, being silly. And all of a sudden, all the lights in the basement while she's in there just start bursting and popping and stuff and burning out, and fucking all she can hear around her in complete darkness is like glass smashing, and she can't see what's going on because, as I said, all the lights have gone out, and so she doesn't know who's in there. I think in the program I was watching, she was talking about how she thought someone was in there with her, like trying to rob the place or anything. So she just thought it was within her best interest just to hide, and so she hides, and then the guy, I think, gets a phone call from her. While she's hiding, she phones him and says, "Oh, can you come and help me? Someone's here. I'm under attack," or some crap like that. "I'm under attack!" And so he flies back to the store as quick as he can. He gets back there, and he's looking for her in the store. She's not there, so he heads on down to the basement. And I think the basement had some kind of lock on it that could only be locked from one side, as in it could only be locked from the outside. You can't unlock it or lock it from the inside. So if you're locked in there, someone has to let you out, basically. And he notices the door's locked, and he finds that kind of strange because when he left, she was in the store, she wasn't in the basement, so he didn't lock the door, and she must have been opened by her to get in there. So he's a bit confused by that, first of all. When he goes down, and he tries the lights, and the lights aren't working, so he grabs a torch or a flashlight and starts looking around. He notices all this broken glass, and he's like, what the fuck, all my shop sort of stuff, and he's kind of pissed off about it. But anyway, keeps searching for this girl, and then he finds her, and he says, you know, what's happened, and she pretty much just leaves the store, probably fucking swearing at him or something. I think I think they did say that she was not very happy, and she leaves, quits her job, and doesn't come back. And the only thing he could think at this point is that she had somehow caused it, because in his mind, logically, I suppose most people would probably think the same thing. There's nothing else that could have caused that, you know, like there was no one else in the store. She was locked in the basement by herself, you know. So the only two things he could think of in his mind is someone locked her in there, or did that and locked her in there, or somehow she did it, you know, it was or whatever. But he doesn't think much about her leaving. I think at this point he was like blaming her for whatever happened, like I said, so he wasn't bothered about quitting. And yeah, he decides just to move on and forget about it. And so he comes across this box over time again, and he thinks, because of what he was told by the lady about the time it was in, and also because of the Hebrew background, I think his family was Jewish, he decides to give it to his mother for a birthday, because she likes things from that time, and she's kind of, you know, into that sort of weird stuff, apparently, or at least that's the way he put it. So he gives it to her for her birthday, which, you know, I mean, the way we're talking about this now probably doesn't sound like the best idea, but he didn't think of it like that at the time, I guess. So he gives it to her for her birthday, and in the shop, I think she's at the shop when he gives it to her, or at least that's the way they depicted it. And yeah, she opens the box, and shortly after opening the box, she suffers a stroke. And it's not a good birthday present, really, but yeah, she has a stroke. And, you know, it was kind of weird at the time, I think they said, because all she was doing was pointing at this box and staring at the box. Because if any of you know anything about having a stroke, you'll know that you can't talk, and you really struggle to you can't write or anything, so it's really difficult to get what you're thinking or what you're trying to say across to somebody. But she's just staring and pointing at this box. And she survived the stroke, which is, you know, very good, luckily. And she told her son that when she recovered a little bit, that box, whatever's in that box, is pure fucking evil, and he needs to get rid of it quickly. And she was scared because she thought she was going to die without being able to tell him or warn him about this box. And so this sort of opens the guy's eyes a little bit, and he thinks, you know, the only two common denominators with these situations, what happened in the basement and what happened with his mother, is this box, because he'd shortly after opening it, that stuff in the basement happened, and shortly after she opened it, that happened to her. So, like I said, the only common denominator there is that box. So he decides he needs to get rid of it, and he puts it out in his shop, and I think he tells people what it is. He doesn't hide it from them, and sure enough, soon enough, somebody buys it. And he's just happy to be rid of it, you know. He's just like, you know, at least it's done now. I don't have to worry about it anymore. And a few days later, he's walking around his store, and he notices by the door is the box. It's back, with a note on the top of it saying there is something very odd about this box. And so he has the frickin' box back, and it just seems like he can't sell this thing. But as it's not causing him any direct harm, he puts it back down in his storeroom and forgets about it. Now, shortly after this, he starts having these nightmares about, I think he said, an old witch-like hag beating the shit out of him, and waking up with the most incredibly bloodshot eyes, like he'd been smoking a ganj for about 6 months or something, and with no reason for that. Like, you know, like I'm not just talking a bit sleepy red eye. I mean, like chronic red eye. You know, like really, really badly bloodshot, and with no explanation for that. And he's, you know, it's not as if he's allergic to something or anything like that. And so he starts to think that it's the box, and he really feels like he needs to get rid of this box as fast as he can. So he lists it on eBay, and I think when he lists it, he puts in the description exactly what it is and the experiences he's had with the box, so that whoever he sells it to knows the deal. You know, he's not selling it to someone who's going to have a problem and send it back. They're going to buy it for the reason of it being haunted, or they want to experience this stuff for whatever reason. Because people are crazy nowadays. People go nuts for that stuff. But anyway, so he lists it on eBay, and sure enough, a few people get interested in it. And I think a college kid buys it, ends up buying it. And when this college kid buys it, all the stuff that was happening to that guy who had it previously stopped. It just didn't happen anymore. And so the college kid gets it, and obviously, you know, he bought it as a bit of a gimmicky joke thing. Oh, it's a haunted box, that kind of malarkey. And yeah, he's sort of having a joke of it at first, and they don't open it. I don't think they opened it for a while, but after a little bit, I guess curiosity got the better of them, and they decided to open this box. And they open the box, and nothing happens immediately. You know, nothing crazy. You know, like no strokes or anything like that. And but over time, weird stuff starts to happen to them too, such as the dreams. I think they live in a house share, and a couple of guys in the house start having the same dreams about a witch, hag, bitch, whatever, kicking the crap out of them, and the bloodshot eyes as well, exactly the same thing. The guy who owned the box, who bought the box, apparently became incredibly reclusive in the sense that he wouldn't leave his room, and he didn't want to talk to anyone, and you know, he was just sort of like on his own all the time, and apparently his hair was falling out, and all kinds of horrible stuff. And it's very, very similar stuff that was happening to the previous owner is happening to these guys. So this kid, or this college kid, becomes convinced that the box is going to kill him, and I think he was keeping a blog about it actually somewhere, talking about his experiences with the box. But after a while, he became convinced that it was going to kill him. So he decided that he needed to get rid of the box. So he puts it back on eBay, lists it as the same thing as what the other guy did, you know, tells everyone their experiences and that it's a haunted box and all this shit. And I think a bunch of people get interested in it again, but it ends up being sold to a medical professor or something like that, a man of science pretty much. And he wanted it because he wanted to try and find out why people were having these experiences and see if he could sort of like attribute it to a contaminant in the box or something that was wrong with it, as opposed to, you know, a demon or whatever it is, or whatever everybody's saying it is, or a ghost. And so he gets this box and he works in a museum, and he takes it to the museum and he examines it. He runs black lights over it looking for contaminants, does all kinds of tests on it, and he can't find anything physically wrong with the box at all. But shortly after having this box in his museum, wherever it is in the museum, in the immediate area, all the fucking lights just start popping and going out. And they can't explain it, or they burn out, and they just cannot explain why it's doing it. And I think he told everyone in the workplace, in that environment, that you know, what it was and what the deal with it was. And a lot of people became really freaked and creeped out with it. And people were complaining that whenever they were around the box, they just felt completely drained. Now, whether that's, you know, a mental thing or whatever, but, you know, it just came to the point where he had to take this box out of the museum, as it wasn't donated or given to the museum or whatever. It's his property. He bought it. So there's no reason to keep it in the museum. He can take it home, and I think that's what the rest of his colleagues kind of wanted him to do. Was just get it out of the workplace they were in because of the negative effect it was having. So he takes it home, which he really doesn't want to do because he's sort of starting to believe that there really is a problem with this box at this point. And yeah, so he takes it home very reluctantly, and sure enough, weird stuff starts happening to him in his house. I think he said that he and his son saw a black mass apparition, and if you don't know what that is, it's sort of basically just a huge black mist that apparently looks like black flames in a big mass. And obviously, I'm not saying, you know, I'm not saying I believe all of this, but this is apparently what happened. And he saw that in his house, and then he started having the dreams about an old hag witch beating the shit out of him every night. And oh yeah, I also forgot to mention that these people, when they were having these dreams, they were waking up with sort of like marks and bruises on their body, as if they'd actually been beaten up. And yeah, he was definitely getting very creeped out as well by this box. So this guy really didn't want to give it to anyone else, because he knew whoever he gave it to was going to have the same problems, and he didn't want that on his conscience, you know what I mean? He didn't want to be thinking, I've done that to somebody. So he came up with an idea of taking the box to a place when it couldn't hurt anyone, where like it was a sort of a desolate area, and where the whatever, it would be isolated. So he takes it to a place where, you know, I'm pretty sure he thought no one was going to be. He takes it there, and he goes home hoping for the best, in the sense that it's going to stop, and it doesn't. It just carries on. And I think at this point, after he did that, his wife started breaking out in really, really strange rashes that they couldn't explain. The only thing they could compare it to was poison ivy rashes, and yeah, she hadn't been in contact with any or anything like that. But so he's fucking again starting to. He really, really believes that this box is messing with them, basically, and he starts doing some research on it because he needs to know how to. He really wants to find out how to stop it. And so he traces it back to the first guy who sold it on eBay, whose mother had a stroke with the box, and tries to get some help from him. And I think at first the guy was very reluctant to help him because he didn't want anything to do with that box again. But I think his conscience got the better of him, and he decided to help him or whatever. And so he goes back to where he bought the box at that lot sale, and he goes to the house, and the girl that he spoke to on the day answers the door, and he starts asking, you know, questions about the box, and she pretty much says, we don't want anything to do with that box, you should leave. Like, they do not want to help him. And as he's leaving, you know, he's not going to cause a fuss, but as he's leaving, an elderly woman comes up to him and starts trying to speak to him about the box, and she's saying that she knows what it is, and she may be able to help him a little bit. And so it turns out, I'm not sure if the woman was related to the elderly woman who owned it or whatever, but yeah, she knew the story behind it. She must have known her somehow. And she said that, obviously back in the day, before they had internets and stuff like that, stuff like seances and Ouija boards and stuff like that, trying to contact the dead, was all the rage. You know, people used to do that stuff all the freaking time. Personally, I would never do stuff like that because I've heard too many people say that it's a fucking stupid thing to do and it can have really dangerous and negative effects. But, you know, a lot of people did used to do that stuff back in the day, and what these people believed was that they'd contacted an evil spirit that was terrorizing them for like a period of time, and they couldn't get rid of it. And so they decided to contact someone who could help them, and I think they said they got a rabbi to help them, who came up or devised this plan to trap this thing in a box and seal it away, and as long as it was kept sealed, it couldn't hurt anybody. And so they did, and that's what they did, and she kept the box, and that's why she brought it with her, just because she wanted to sort of keep an eye on it, protect it, make sure it was never opened, and that's why she had it. And this guy's sort of creeped out by this, but he tells the guy who's got the professor who's still got the box what she said, and the guy seeks out some help, I think from a rabbi, and they found a way to seal the box apparently. And what the professor did was take the box to a place where no one can get to it, where no one knows where it is. I think only he knows where it is, and it's sealed. Everything's stopped happening to him now, and he doesn't want anything to do with the box. He doesn't want anyone to have anything to do with the box, and so it is in a place literally where only he knows, and it can't hurt anyone, apparently, sealed away forever. So yeah, that concludes the story. So let me know what you think about that, whether you think it's believable or not. As I said, the wiki is in the description. I'm not telling you, you know, that it's true, you must believe it, but from what I've heard, it is apparently true, and I just think it's a really cool story, you know, whether it's true or not. But yeah, there is a wiki to it, so I will link that in the description somewhere for you. But let's have a little look at my last video's comments. I'll go through a few here. Someone said, poor Budgie, if you poor Budgie. Simon Dodge said, house is built on a Native American burial ground. Oh, Rothman's here. This is a regular on my channel and my live stream, actually. What's he got to say for himself? One time I went outside, oh god, and the sun was there. Here's the scary part. The sun wasn't like the one in Call of Duty. It hurt my eyes when I looked at it. I hope I didn't frighten anyone too bad with that story. Goddamn, Rothman, I'm kegging my pants. People asking for more, thank you all so much. I must read a few comments there. Alright, we got a serious one here. Soul Maelstrom 9 says, alright, here's mine. One day, way back in the 6th grade, so yeah, may have been my little kiddie imagination, I was having a super bad day. Things were going missing, bullying was at a high, and for some reason I felt like I was being watched. So anyway, I got home and just flopped on my bed. I fell asleep instantly and apparently woke up in a dream. My entire house was there, but it looked a lot older and stuff, and there was no one really paying attention to me. I even tried to touch something, but that was when I woke up. 4 hours later, it was 11:27, so not a special number or anything, but my computer had been moved around, my clothes in my closet were mostly all on the ground, besides surprisingly my bathrobe, and I was stuck in my blankets. I assumed that my family was just fucking with me, so I said to myself, I really wish they would just fuck off sometimes. And then in my ear I hear this, little boys shouldn't be swearing. I don't swear as much anymore, but seriously, fuck those guys. Well, that's a bit creepy there, buddy. Sounds like you might have had an out-body experience if that really happened, but, you know, just whether it did. Someone said, what the fuck are budgies? Budgies are birds. Come on now. Someone said here, well, I'm a Christian. I also believe in ghosts, and I know ghosts are real because one shoved me and pulled me and did the same to my mum, so they're obviously real. But what I think happened was that someone like a spirit got mad and cursed you. Oh, really? But you guys probably didn't do a proper bit. Wow. No, probably not going to bury a budgie, to be honest. So the spirit or ghost, whatever the fuck you want to call it, got pissed off and did that. Yeah, I'd probably agree with that. Let's have a little look. We got a couple more here. A lot of people saying thank you. Oh, someone said you smoked some bad weed, lol, tripping FreeMz. Cool video, bro. Could you do more of these? Please, muchly appreciated. Well, there you go, buddy. That was Brooks. Someone asked, you White asked, is Dave Jim? Dave was indeed Jim, my friend. Someone said crazy stories. They want to see more. Thank you so much. Yeah, so I'm not going to go too bad there. Oh no, we'll read this guy because he's a regular over here on my channel, so I feel obliged to read his comment. But anyway, I have to believe that you did piss somebody off with the chucking of the budgie and they got creative in their payback. I'm pretty skeptical about anything paranormal. My weirdest story is that I'm Native American, and in our tribe we have a shitload of legends and myths, and to make a long story short, one night after we went out looking for one of our myths, I was in my bed in my upstairs bedroom, and I was turned away from the window and something was knocking and scratching on my window. No roof or ledge for anyone to stand on. I didn't roll over to see, because I didn't want to see what was trying to get in. I know it could have been anything, but when you are 13 you imagine the worst. Oh dear. So yeah. Keep them coming in. I will try to read out some comments on every one of these videos for you guys. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the story. Let me know what you think about it in the comment section. Have a great day, and until next time, take it easy.